This is Salam Media, keeping you company this Ramadan.
It is exactly 12:18, and finally we are able to talk with Mike Bolhuis. We do apologize earlier on for the sound problems that we were experiencing here. Mike is no stranger to our radio station. We've had him on over and over again, and obviously it has been well merited simply because of the horrendous crime rates here in South Africa. Today we're going to be talking about the new card skimming um, uh, thing, the card skimming that is happening in the country. We're also going to be talking about all of the different ways in which people are now trying to make you part with your well-earned money. SBV, transit, these cash heist transits are also on the rise. And believe it or not, the last time we spoke with Mike, it was about the rise of kidnappings in the country. It seemed to have died down a little bit, but it seems to now be taking, it seems to be on the rise. We saw this trend normally during the festive period, but we're in the new year, the first quarter of the new year. Why is it happening now? Mike Bolhuis, you're a security specialist, very well known throughout the country. You've worked on many major breakthrough cases, and you continue your very, very hard work with your great team behind you. Welcome to the program. And we are now going to focus on kidnappings because it seems once again to be on the rise. I'm going to mention a particular incident which happened, I think, a week or two ago in Brits in the Northwest Province. Two young teenagers were on their way to school and they were hijacked. Are you aware of the case? Have you heard anything further on this particular case?
We are aware of all the cases in the country. We get informed. We have groups. We have safety and security organizations and other investigators, police. It's a big group in South Africa that's working together to try and curb this extreme violent crime cases in our country by working hand in hand together. Number one, to identify all the cases, to inform the public with factual information. One of our biggest problems in these cases is hearsay information and assumptions. So we send out projects with the factual information to assist the police as well, to assist the public and the family. So we know of this case. We're not on this case specifically, but it is our opinion that the rise of children or youngsters being kidnapped is rising. We have just last night received another case in where a young 16-year-old Ethiopian lady was kidnapped, but within a few hours after we've sent out our project, this just shows how well the projects are doing. We caught, the police and ourselves and my team caught the drivers. So the drivers and the vehicle is at the police and they are incarcerated, and we're now trying still to get the young girl. So a new project will go out today stating the success up till now, but that we are still looking for the 16-year-old girl. The unfortunate thing is that many youngsters that are taken is not necessarily being exposed to the media or to the public. Many cases aren't reported or the media aren't aware of them. And therefore, I say there's a lot of these kidnappings in especially January and now February, even in March, that has taken place that we are not aware of. There's much, much more than the 10 or 20 or 30 that we've been seeing in the media. And kidnappings, once again, the main reason always is money, but it could also be for the human trade, human trafficking, drug trafficking, sex slave trafficking, and human organ harvesting industry. All criminals, all syndicates, all extremely dangerous. Of the most dangerous criminals in the world are involved in kidnappings and human trafficking and all the facets that I've just mentioned. In other words, when somebody does talk, or there's a whistleblower, or a family member does something that in the slightest affect these criminals, they'll kill them. So once again, it's important to inform the public that kidnappings are planned. They're carefully planned, and usually there is no forensic and other information left behind. They will execute the kidnapping after the careful planning, making sure that there is no evidence left behind for the authorities and ourselves. Therefore, I believe that the way we're handling this now is unfortunately after the effect, where we send our projects. Our main concern is, what are we going to do in future to completely and totally prevent kidnapping? Prevention is always better than cure, and that is the dilemma we have now. So we want to warn the public to be extremely positively paranoid, to be on the lookout. You have to be suspicious. You have to be critical constantly, to not flash your wealth, to be very careful what you do on social media and in the public. You cannot, I always say this and it's laughable, but you cannot walk around like a Kardashian or a very rich man. You cannot flash what you have, because
Absolutely.
any of the serious violent crime cases, when it comes to where they see human beings as cash, as merchandise, you will be identified. It's very obviously they're not going to kidnap a poor person staying in a poor neighborhood. So they are concentrating on businessmen, wealthy people, and they know that they love their children, and they know that they will pay much quicker than when a husband or a wife is taken when they're in possession of a child. But we have had cases where people make themselves disappear, where children has walked away or disappeared themselves or left home with boyfriends and stuff like that, and the family was under the impression they were taken against their will. And then we quickly uncover that, and we make sure that that never happens again, because that's defeating the ends of justice. That is misusing the police and authorities' expertise and their work that they are doing. And then obviously it is a crime to do that. We've had many of those cases, actually, and I say many. So before we just jump into and send out a project about a kidnapping, we make quite sure of it. But if we don't have the evidence and a person does disappear, it will be a missing persons or a kidnapping case.
So, Mike, let's talk about these kidnapping cases that you work on as well. Is this in conjunction with SAPS and family members? Where and how do you fit into the picture? And from the feedback that I have received, when people like Mike Bolhuis is on board, in the past it was some top ranking policeman. He has subsequently died. I think it was slung something or the other. Anyway,
Slung from sale.
There you go. Yes, I remember that he cracked many a serious crime. You seem to have taken on that role now. How does this relationship work with you working in conjunction with the police and the families?
So we are available to the public. We are seen as the end of the line when all else fails. So what usually happens is, because we've been in this crime fighting industry for 40 years, we're extremely well known. And a lot of very qualified ex-policemen are working for me. We've got the best cybercrime, forensic, track tracing, anti-crime and task team units available. And we are affiliated with many others that sees it the way as we see it, and that are crime fighting entities. So it's a group of people working together. And then obviously we identify the police that really wants to work and wants to protect and serve. The problem is corruption in the police has forced us to be very careful who we work with, because many a times we've also seen that corrupt policemen, we call it the double whammy, will get involved in a crime, but also be part of the crime, like secondary robberies, or might take bribe or monies, and will even enrich themselves along the way with the investigation, extorting the families, and even as far as being part of blue light gangs, hijackings, kidnappings, cash in transits, etc., etc. So I'm not saying all policemen are like that, but there's at least a big group of them involved in committing crimes, and also the same of security companies and PIs. There's a lot of corrupt PIs. I usually say around about 80% of our safety and security network in South Africa is corrupt, which includes the government, which is supposed to protect and serve us, the authorities, the police, at least 80%, and as well as the security companies and private investigators as well. The corruption is just enormous. And corruption does not necessarily mean you take money, or you there's so many forms of corruption you can commit, but to me the biggest one is if you misrepresent yourself, saying that you can do the job but you can't, especially in the police. If you're in the police and you cannot do the work, then you are misrepresenting yourself, you are misrepresentator, you are ultimately committing fraud, and you are stealing, because you're getting a salary and you're not protecting and serving the public. You cannot do the work. You actually don't want to do the work. You're just there for the pay and its benefits. And that's many a times in the other industries as well, and especially in the government. But the direct corruption of taking money, extorting people, is also quite big. So we work with those that want to, that really can, that are willing, able, and capable, that are fit, and as I always say, ready to immediately assist and make a difference. And unfortunately, most of those people you will find outside of the authorities, but you do find the 20% in the police and the government that really wants to make a difference. And that's how we have some success. Remember, kidnappings is not presently, and so with all our crimes in our country, successfully dealt with. It's a minute amount and percentage that is handled, investigated properly, brought through the system, the judicial system, and has been jailed and properly sentenced. That's a very small minority of those cases. So with that said, the criminals know this. So they will commit crime because they can get away with it. Because the percentage, yes, the percentage of those caught are very little.
Oh, is that the reason? What are you hearing on the ground regarding the case of the two Brits teenagers? And then there's also that very sensational reporting of that 8-year-old little girl in Saldanha Bay, Jocelyn. We've now subsequently heard that the mother might be involved in her kidnapping, and that little girl might be the victim of human trafficking, that the mother actually sold her off. We don't know how much of sensationalism is involved in that particular case, but whilst you mull on those two questions for me, can we go for a quick ad break, please?
Thank you. So, on the Jocelyn case, yeah, it's like the previous Motti family case. It's drawn a lot of attention nationally and internationally. And as I've said earlier on, the biggest problem is hearsay information and assumptions. And then it becomes rumors and gossip and absolute nonsense. And it's very, very dangerous. It makes the work of the authorities very difficult. All authorities, us included. It makes the family and everybody involved very uneasy, and it just becomes totally speculative, and there's no real factual information being presented. And even the authorities there, we're also not on that case. However, we were asked since day one to be involved, but we can only involve ourselves in a case once requested by the direct family or extreme concerned citizens or authorities. In this case, there were already so many involved and so many policemen and authorities and municipalities and citizens, etc., that we are on the periphery and on standby if anything is necessary. But the factual news that has been presented by the newspapers are acceptable. So you will very seldom get that the South African news will present something that is not factual. And if something not factual has been presented, they will apologize afterwards. I always have the greatest of compliments to Network 24 and Netwerk 24, as well as all the newspaper people. They always do their best as to get the maximum facts and present the maximum information in a factual basis. So that family and those there that have been arrested has definitely been involved. The answers will be definite once the child has been found.
Well, let's hope she is found, because you have alluded earlier on to cases where young people are being kidnapped and even older people. And that, of course, is for human body parts, which, as horrific as it sounds, is in fact a reality. But we'll come back to you in a minute, Mike. We need to take an ad break, so please stay with us. Welcome back. It's exactly 12:40. We have Mike Bolhuis with us for at least another 10 minutes. We are talking about the rising rate of crime in South Africa, particularly kidnappings. And of course, I was absolutely horrified. I've heard about this in the past, but Mike just seems to have confirmed that kidnappings for body parts is becoming a thing in South Africa as well. Mike, how did you happen onto that horrible story of people being kidnapped for body parts? Where do they take the bodies? Surely that indicates that there's some sort of medical practitioners, with due respect to the professional medical doctors that we have in the country, but there must be those on the periphery that get involved in such horrible, horrific crimes, helping these kidnappers carve up the bodies and then sell off the body parts.
So when we've been investigating a specific theft of humans in order to sell body parts. It's shocking to say, but humans have become merchandise. So when a human has been stolen, it could be a specific order for one of your body parts, a specific part of your body, or it could be for, even as ugly as it sounds, for shamans and those who are in the occult. That doesn't happen a lot. However, it does happen. It's usually a specific organ that is needed, and it's expensive, and an order would be received from a family for a specific person, which they cannot get this specific body part from the normal protocol or procedures that is to be followed through hospitals and the medical field. And they also might make themselves known through the networks in South Africa that they can do this and present this. So that's how that works. The unfortunate thing is, once again, it starts with a missing person. A child is gone, or a specific person is gone, and that person stays gone. Because the person is never found, it's very difficult to just assume or to identify what really happened. But it would be in one of the categories. Either the person has been stolen for body parts. You usually look at the age and beauty and quality of the person, quality of the human body. You can also then identify if it's another reason why that person has been stolen. Is it for the sex slave, to introduce that person into the sex industry? Or, as I've said, for other reasons, or that person has just been taken and killed because that person knows too much or has information. At that point, I also need to say that people are sometimes taken for the fact that they have information that they extract, and once they have that information, they discard of that person. They will kill that person. But the criminals of today, many a times in this field, will actually be in cahoots with each other, and if a body is available after somebody has just been killed because he had too much information, that body can also be presented to those who are in the organ harvesting game. So it's a seedy, very ugly field we're moving into, and it's becoming all the more relevant, and it exists, and it boils down to, as I've previously said, that the human body has become cash. It's become merchandise.
So, Mike, obviously the human harvest body industry must be operating from a fairly or very sophisticated, a small-scale hospital type operation, because for them to invest all of the resources in kidnapping a person for his or her body parts, if they do a hack job on that body, then the body parts won't be viable. So I'm thinking they have quite a sophisticated operation, medical operation that they are running.
Yeah, look, that industry is an oiled industry. They would have their doctors, their nurses, and whomever they would need along the line, which gets money and which are, well, once involved, threatened. Remember what I've said. Once you're in this industry and any of the taking of a human being industry in any of the facets, your life, if you're involved in that, is on the line. The slightest word, the slightest chance of you not being in line and sticking to the rules of engagement and rules and regularities that they require of you, you will be killed. You will be next. You'll become the very person that will be sold. So it's those that are chosen. They are careful. They choose carefully, and that's a group. It's a syndicate. It's a gang. It's an organization, and it's a business. And
so it's organized crime, obviously. It's organized crime.
Yeah, they would do this till the day they die. You will very, very seldom get a whistleblower out of this industry.
Because they're putting their lives and their families' lives on the line. We're going to wrap up now, Mike, and we're hearing that there's a new card skimming scam doing the rounds. Have you heard about it, and what's it all about?
Just say again, Julie, what scam?
Card skimming, credit card skimming scam.
Look, at some stage, Julie, when you guys have time, I would like to inform the public how bad that is. The other crime that's the biggest in the world is cybercrime. It's the digital and electronic communication systems of the world, and credit cards and any buying or selling or any electronic, whichever way, communication or transaction is at risk today. You have to be extremely careful. You have to do a complete, no matter what you buy or sell, a complete identification, evaluation, a risk analysis, a cyber track tracing platform, forensic investigation before you get involved in buying or doing any transaction. But I will be able to give some good tips. And one of the best tips is always, if you're in the slightest way unsure and you don't know what something is, don't open it. If you're in the slightest way unsure, don't take the call, don't talk, don't give information, and always speak to your bank manager or a specialist or anybody that has knowledge of this before. Don't do something out of greed or out of haste. Be very, very careful. Everything is at risk. You can think it's this came on the line or Take a Lot or SARS or your bank. And meantime, it's syndicates and criminals.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Mike, let's leave it there. We will speak with you again sometime in the future. And once again, as I always say to you, please keep up the amazing work. You truly do go out, make a very meaningful difference, and you do touch lives in a very special way. So God bless, God keep you safe. Until the next time, go well.
God bless you guys. Thanks for the opportunity. All of the best, Julie.
Thank you, Mike. It is exactly 12:47 News and Views. Pardon, not News and Views. It's the mid-morning show just for the month of Ramadan. I'll be going back to News and Views right after the month of Ramadan, inshallah. And we are going to now do our competition, the Ramadan competition, in a short while. So please stay with us.